Every week, you don't hear all of the important news stories on media, but Safety News Network has an important story for you to hear today, and this was from last week at the Rotary Club in Roswell, Georgia. A speaker, whose name was Representative Brandon Guffey from South Carolina, was telling a tragic story about his 17-year-old son, Gavin.
So July 27th, 2022, my 17-year-old lost his life to suicide. And what we found out was that he was being targeted by a crime known as sextortion. I'd never heard of it previously, but what it is someone essentially pretends to be someone else, convinces children, they typically target teenagers, to share images back and forth and then use those images to extort money out of them with threatening that they're going to release it to everyone in the community if they do not comply.
Well, you've been working now in South Carolina on this. How are things going now?
We passed Gavin's Law in my first year in the legislature, which was a huge win. There are federal laws in place to go after, but what we're running into with the huge rise of sextortion is local law enforcement cannot cross jurisdictions due to it. So with Gavin's Law, it makes every level a felony, possibly. Unless it is a minor, we left that up to family court. We don't want children being punished for making childish decisions. And if great bodily harm occurs, you get an additional up to 20 years added on as well. And we required an educational component of the law, which requires Department of Education to educate all of our students and parents about Gavin's Law.
And as you've seen this in South Carolina, I'm sure you've studied this all over the U.S. Do you think other states are doing as much or worse than South Carolina?
I think it is rising as across the country, across the globe, truthfully. We have many states that have enacted some type of sextortion law. I don't believe the most important aspect of it is the education. That's more important than any of the prosecuting lines, because the majority of the people that are attacking our children are either in another country or in a prison. It's not typically someone that they really know. And if they're in another country, local law enforcement can't go after them. What we need to do is have the conversation with our children. We need to have that hard conversation and let them know that there's nothing that they can do. While we sit there and we say, don't ever share an image, don't do that. You can't shame a child that once it's already happened, for them to feel like they can't come back to you. We need to quit. Our teens are watching these athletes lose scholarships because of something they said whenever they were 14. We need to learn grace in this country and realize that we all make mistakes and we have to move forward and lift each other up instead of trying to kick each other while we're down.
Do you think mothers understand and know this more than fathers?
I think fathers try to be more black and white because there's always, man's job is to solve a problem. The simple solution is don't do it. Mm-hmm. It hurts whenever I bend my finger this way. Don't do it. Mm-hmm. So the dad's response is typically don't send photos. It's fine and dandy, but what happens with this new generation who is being raised on devices in schools, and they waking up every single day sending pictures back and forth to one another through apps such as Snapchat? I personally hold these social media companies responsible. If you're going to allow a 12-year-old to come onto your property and play, you're responsible for what happens. Mm-hmm. And they have the capability to stop it, and they just choose not to. Elon Musk buying Twitter taught us anything. It was how many fake profiles are out there. Mm-hmm. He's just the only one that had the guts to do anything about it. And so I hold them responsible, but we've got to educate our children, try to keep them off of these platforms. It's one of the hugest detriments to their generation, and honestly to ours as well.
And now you have a nonprofit.
I do. We just set up Less Than Three, which is the symbol that's on my jacket. So it's less than the number 3, sc.org. And we've set that up to go around talking to schools, to be able to drive, just as me driving here today 5 hours and missing work, to be able to fund being able to get out there and share the message that way.
Well, Safe America will look forward to helping you and inviting you to a conference this December.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much.
There have been other great speakers from the Roswell Rotary Club, and you'll hear more from Safety News Network in coming weeks. Len Pagano reporting to you.
Be safe, America.